whatever it is, to be fulfilled within that space. I didn't have it before. And I think that's great. Fabulous. Good for you. And some of them, and
Yeah.
these are the ones that are really interesting, kind of go, hey, you know what? That job that I was doing over there, Todd, that's not interesting anymore. I want to solve bigger problems. I want to make a bigger difference in the world. And that's fascinating to me because we need in this world purpose-driven leaders. We need them so badly.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. Today, my guest is Todd Karges, a certified leadership and executive coach with a background spanning banking, technology, retail, publishing, and nonprofits. Todd works with leaders and executives who are dedicated to growth and making a real impact. With certifications from the Coactive Training Institute, so CDI, and the International Coaching Federation, also known as ICF. Many of career coaches will know that. Todd blends decades of business leadership experience with powerful coaching to help clients lead with intention and create meaningful change. So I'm excited to dive into his journey and his insights. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank you so much. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Todd, tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to become a executive coach or a leadership development coach.
Coaching is such an interesting thing. What inspired me is this. In my career, what I realized is that I had been progressively higher, bigger leadership jobs in a series of different companies. And in all of them, one of the things that I always had to do was have one-on-one conversations with my direct reports, or sometimes the direct reports of my direct reports, or even one level down from that. And the very best parts of all of those jobs, bar none, was when I would have a conversation with someone and then they would go off and achieve something that they didn't think that they could have achieved prior to that conversation. There was a moment where something kind of clicked and I went, well, what if that was 100% of my job rather than just 10 or 20% of my job? And that's sort of when I started doing some research and I discovered CTI, the Coactive Training Institute, I discovered ICF, I discovered that this actually is a job. And this is something that I can do for a living. And in a nutshell, that was what it did. The other thing that I can say too, Rexon, is receiving some very powerful coaching of my own was the thing that kind of gave me the courage, helped me overcome my limiting beliefs, my fears about, you know, leaving that corporate life and starting my own business. So it was really kind of a both and.
How did that journey evolve from the point that you became a coach to where you are at today? So 2 years and a half, almost 3 years later.
Yeah. It started with training. It started by taking a couple courses. Like I dipped my toe in to see whether or not this was something that I wanted to do. And the first training that I took was something that the Coactive Training Institute calls fundamentals. And it was once I did that that I realized, oh, these are my people. Like these people are my people. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. I didn't know who I was going to coach. I didn't know what kind of coaching I wanted to do. I just knew that this was the thing. And as you and your audience are aware, there's lots and lots of different kinds of coaches, right? There's executive coaches, there's career coaches, but there's also relationship coaches. There's also one of the coaches that's in my network, works exclusively with water engineers. Like it's very specific sometimes. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but what I did know was that was the thing. And what I realized as I went was the coach that I really wanted to be was the coach that I needed 5 years ago, which is why I focused my attention on, sort of executives and people in leadership positions, but particularly executives in leadership positions who are struggling with the fulfillment in their own job, right? Like there's this thing that we do where I call it moving up and to the right, where, you get a better title and more money and better title and more money and better title and more money until that's what success means. And the whole reason that you started becomes vague because it's still just about better title, more money, better title, more money, which sounds pretty good. I mean, if I go back 20 years, that sounds great to me. After having done it for 20 years, it's less great because it isn't fulfilling. So anyway, I think that answers your question. I hope that does.
Yeah, that definitely does.
Okay.
And it gives us an overview of like what inspired you to become a coach, especially because you connected it with the kind of people you want to serve are the people that went through the same kind of experience that you were in the past. And that has been the case with a lot of coaches that I've interviewed, actually. So yeah, many
Yeah,
coaches
that
are
doesn't
trying to
surprise me.
help, are trying to help their versions in the past. Who else would be best qualified to do that other than someone that has been there and has
Hmm.
made it through successfully?
Hmm.
And maybe in the future we have more more executive coaches.
I
Like,
would love that. I think that'd be
yeah,
fantastic because I think we
yeah,
need them.
definitely. I know you talked a little bit about this, but is there a specific like demographic or group of people that you're working with and the transformation you're helping them achieve?
I tend to vibe mostly with people who are in senior leadership positions or executive positions. Those tend to be the people that want to work with me, um, that I work sort of most seamlessly with because we share a common language. But that said, I have also worked with creative people. I've worked with activists. I've worked with mid-career folks, and I've worked actually with very early career people as well. And what I found is that there are some common elements in in a lot of these things. Certainly, the lived experience is going to be different from one group of people to another group of people, and it's important as a coach that we meet our clients where they are. I don't have an agenda about how they're going to necessarily proceed through whatever it is that has brought them to coaching. But what I do have is, a series of skills and a series of techniques and all of my own lived experience that I can apply to their situation. And that's the thing that's sort of the differentiator. So do I have a specific demographic? I might have got people that I tend to attract, but they're not the only people that I work with.
So there's no specific industry as well.
Well, my background is all over the place. You read
Yeah, yeah.
the intro. I tended to work in technology, but that's because in my background I was mostly in technology, and my path to leadership was through project management, specifically through technology project management. But I studied English literature at university. So I was never a computer programmer. So, I've always kind of been a fish out of water in any of the situations. So, I've got some technology clients. I've also got a lot of clients who are not technology. So
Yeah.
it's a little agnostic from that perspective. The thing that they have in common is that something's missing. Like the way that I describe it, Rexon, is like, that feeling that you have when you finally got the job that you want, like the one that says success on the game board, but then when you get there, you just don't care. And there's right when it happens, and this is because it happened to me, and there's darkness once you get to that space. Like, what's my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? How am I going to pay the mortgage? So what I do is I hang out with you during that dark period because there's wisdom there, but it's hard to be there. So that together you and I can figure out what you need in order to care and make the difference that you want to make. And some of those people go back to their jobs, the ones that they were in where they were feeling unfulfilled, and say, you know what, Todd, this is fantastic because now I have what I need. I have the curiosity. I have whatever it is to be fulfilled within that space. I didn't have it before. And I think that's great. Fabulous. Good for you. And some of them, and
Yeah.
these are the ones that are really interesting, kind of go, hey, you know what? That job that I was doing over there, Todd, that's not interesting anymore. I want to solve bigger problems. I want to make a bigger difference in the world. And that's fascinating to me because we need in this world purpose-driven leaders. We need them so badly. And I think it's a unique privilege to be able to unlock purpose in people who are struggling to find it so that they can apply it in a way that's really going to make a difference for us.
Yeah, it's definitely a privilege.
Yeah.
And that way you impact not only the person that you're working with, but like everyone else that person, because of the success that they had with you, let's say they pivoted to a different career,
Mhm.
that they feel more fulfilled and they can spread more value into that type of career. That can impact everyone else in that in their company or their families. So it's like the impact is massive.
Yeah. How we show up in our world impacts the people around us, whether we know it or not. And there's a responsibility, I think, that goes along with understanding that. And once you can sort of take that responsibility joyfully and realize that, there is a privilege in taking that responsibility for your impact, then you become more intentional about how you show up. You become more intentional about what you do and what kind of impact you want to have. I mean, we've all worked with bosses or leaders or executives who are tyrants, right? Who are, command and control leaders. It's my way or the highway. There's only one way of doing with things, and it's the way that I tell you to do it. And they're very, very difficult to work with. And the other thing that's very true, and this is something that often isn't told, is the people who work for folks like that aren't giving 100%. That's not how you get a high performing team, by being a tyrant, by thumping your chest. So how do you? What's the unintended negative impact of my actions? Well, how can I evaluate it? How can I look at it? There's like it's all mixed up in there. So I love what you're saying. You're right, especially when you're talking about leaders. The outsized impact of how I show up is it's enormous.
Yeah, and I think that's part that you probably like about most about your job. That you impact people outside of the person that you're directly working with. More
Yes,
of a tactical
sure.
question. Marketing is where do you find your clients? So what's your
Ah,
main way, yeah, of connecting with them?
um, so my main way of connecting with so I kind of got two ways right now. My primary my I've played with everything, right? Like I've played with social media, I've played with Instagram, I've played with things. LinkedIn is a very rich source of sort of space for me, and it's I'll be honest with you, it's I don't buy LinkedIn ads. I do it organically. I work my network through LinkedIn. I have connections with a number of people in HR positions that I've met throughout my career. So I do that, but I also try to create like thought leadership content, if you will, on LinkedIn, and maybe that's a little bit of a misnomer. But I have a it's not a podcast. I do a LinkedIn live stream that I call Leadership Studio. And, I talk with other coaches or other leaders, and it's about a topic that's specific. Lately, there's been a lot of talk around overwhelm. There's been a lot of talk around sort of leading through anxiety, avoiding burnout, that kind of thing, because these are big topics for sort of people in those leadership positions. But, I also sometimes go, in another direction. And earlier in February, I had a conversation with a coach who was a romantic relationship coach. And we had this great conversation about, building relationships and how the tools that we use to build relationships in our personal life are very similar to or the same as the tools that we use to build successful relationships at work. And we called that one from the boardroom to the bedroom. And it was, it was a delightful conversation. So, what I can say is that my network reads these things or sees these things. Other people, you know, wander in. I often meet people randomly through those things, and also referrals. I think that I mentioned to you earlier that one of the things that I do is when I meet with a potential new client, I do believe, like I honestly believe that everyone will benefit from coaching, but I don't believe that everyone will benefit from my coaching. So if a potential client and I are not vibing, what I'll do is I'll say, hey, listen, can I introduce you to two, three, four other potential coaches that might be a better fit? And there's a bunch of coaches in my network who do the same thing. So I've gotten more than a couple clients that way too, because you know what? This person isn't for me, but maybe Todd, they're good for you.
I really like that. Being able to draw the line of where you think you could help someone
Hmm.
versus not being to help them, but just getting them as like tactic to grow more revenue, but working with people that you
It's
cannot help. You can hurt more than do good. So
Yeah. And what I will say is as a new coach, it's very, very challenging to look at a client and say, "Oh, you're not for me. I know you're not for me," because that's money in the bank, isn't it? But what I'll say is this, I guarantee you'll build something better by naming it, by naming that thing. It's like, you know what? I'm not for you, you're not for me. but let me find someone who is, because that's someone who's going to remember you. That's someone who's going to go, oh, he was honest. He knew
Hmm.
that this wasn't the right thing. And in one case, like I had a great conversation with someone a little while ago where it was like, listen, this is what I do. These are the things. And what he said was like, wow, that's terrifying. Is that all it is? Like, is that like, what are my other options? And I'm like, dude, if this isn't for you, and I get it, maybe it isn't, then, maybe we can talk to, like, I can introduce you to some other people. But if you change your mind, like, once you sit with this and you kind of go like, oh, maybe that isn't as scary, maybe I'm ready now and I wasn't 6 months ago, then call me up, because just
Yeah.
because we're not a fit right now doesn't mean we're not going to be a fit 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. Coaching is a long game, and
Hmm.
client development is a long game.
And
Yeah.
yeah, just like you said, you might have not been the coach for that person at that specific journey, part of the
Mhm.
journey in their life, but you could be a coach for them later.
Yeah.
Is like for example, if you're just a small business owner starting your business,
Mhm.
taking advice from a billionaire might not be the best advice you can take at that moment, versus
Mhm.
taking advice from someone who's like right next to your level, let's say. So it's like
Well,
me talking to Bill Gates is not gonna be very valid for me.
I think it depends on what you're talking to Bill Gates about, to be honest. Like one of the exercises that I do with my clients is we do a values inventory. So, in our initial conversations, we get really, really clear on, well, what are the values that are important to you that are at work for you in this moment? And a number of values show up. And again, these are the values that are really at work in the decisions that you make in your life, not just the ones that you want other people to think about. So, a value, for example, that often shows up that people don't want to admit is a value is money. Like, yeah, money is important to me. Making money is important to me. Well, if that's the case, then yeah, maybe a conversation with Bill Gates or another billionaire or something might be actually a valuable thing. Maybe you're going to learn something that will be really aligned to your value. But you know what? If money's not one of your values, right? Like, if I know another coach who says, I don't want to be a money millionaire, I want to be a time millionaire. Well, that's different. And if that's the case, like, then, work-life balance is really the thing. Like, how do I figure out how to be the master of my own time, the master of my, like, how do I develop that agency? So what's important to the client, what's important to the person who's seeking coaching is going to be the first thing to look for, because it's going to be different for different people.
Yeah,
I didn't mean
absolutely.
to be a contrarian.
No,
you're
no.
you're right. I mean, getting advice from someone who is close to you also is very important too, because they're also more accessible.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
feel like the actionable steps you can take from someone that is next level to you versus
Mhm.
next 100 levels could
Yes,
be more
that is true.
applicable.
Yes, that's true.
So, yeah, also wanted to ask you, what are some goals that you're working towards in the next 1 to 3 years regarding your coaching business?
This is interesting. Um, I have revenue targets, but they're not interesting. What's interesting for me is meeting more people and getting the message out. Because here's the thing: about, I want to say, a year, maybe a year and a half ago, Deloitte released a survey about sort of job satisfaction in the North American workforce, and this is what it revealed: roughly 65% of North American workers, and I don't know what it's like in Europe or other parts of the world, this is North America, but roughly, 65% of the North American workforce wishes they could quit their job in the next 12 months. Go up to sort of leaders and executives, and that number increases to 75, 80%. Oh my God. Like, that's a huge population of people who are dissatisfied, who aren't finding fulfillment in their work. And work is what we do every single day. And especially senior leaders, right? They spend sometimes 60, 65, 70 hours a week doing that, and they're unfulfilled. Well, that's dangerous. That's dangerous for society. So what I want is, I want to meet more of those people, because what they deserve is fulfillment. What they deserve is to live on purpose, because each one of those leaders managed to achieve that role through some combination of mad skills and privilege. And what if that amazing combination of mad skills and privilege could be applied in something that they really care about? That'll change the world. So, what do I want in the next, 3, 4, 5 years? I want to keep doing what I'm doing, and I want to do it at a bigger scale. I want to meet more and more people, because I see my job as existing in that space between sort of not living on purpose and purpose unlocked. And my job is to go back to the pool of people, the purposeless, the people who are struggling, and bring them to this place so that then they can decide what they want to do with it. And to be honest, it doesn't matter to me what they decide. What matters is that they do decide.
Yeah. If you keep doing that, let's say for the next few years, maybe we can drop that percentage of dissatisfaction lower.
Well, I love that idea. Yes, and I think more and more people doing this as well. So more people existing in this space whose job is to unlock purpose, whose job is to create fulfillment within that population of leaders, corporate leaders, who are leaders, like they are leaders within our society, they're leaders within our culture, right? Like it's important what the CEOs think, it's important what the senior vice presidents at the banks think, but not just about what's happening in their corporations, because there's a
Yeah.
responsibility that goes beyond that.
Yeah. Imagine if you were able to like just magically turn that into like 5% today.
Yeah,
What impact would
exactly.
that have into the whole world? Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, I really love that. And for any career coach that's going to be watching this and is
Mhm.
not ready to move in yet or doesn't feel like this industry is big enough, the sad news and the good news, maybe from coach's perspective, is that there is a lot of need for career coaches, executive coaches in this industry, and
Yeah.
it's growing continuously. I wanted to ask you, what resources or support has been most valuable for you in growing your coaching business over these last 2 years?
I'm a member of a number of coaching communities, and I think the first thing that comes to mind is finding a coaching community that's resonant with you and the work that you do. The reason why is because coaching, whether it's executive coaching or career coaching or relationship coaching or any other kind of coaching, can be very solitary. It can be very lonely. And the thing, like the big difference between the work that I do now and the work that I did when I was in corporate is that in corporate, I would go to work and I would be with my coworkers and I would see the same people all the time. And there was relationship, like there was a relationship that was created as a result of that. And in the absence of a coaching community, it's very possible that a coach could exist that their only professional relationships are with their clients. And I don't think that's enough. So for me, the biggest thing that has kept me going, particularly in the times that are dark, because there's always dark times in every job, has been having that support network, that community of coaches, that community of people who understand what I'm going through, who understand what I do, and also understand its value. Apart from that, what I will say is continuing education is also really important. You know, if there's things that are interesting to you that are related to your education. I got into neuroscience a little while ago, so I've been doing a deep dive into, neuroscience based coaching. I've been interested in neurodivergence and trauma informed coaching. So like there's a whole ton of stuff, because the thing is whether it's career coaching or executive coaching or any other kind of coaching, the person who shows up is a whole person. So even if your topic is the career, something else is going to come up and you kind of got to be ready for it,
Yeah,
or at least
be ready
prepared
to
to talk about it.
be ready to take a holistic approach to
Yeah,
this one because
you
it's not
coach the
always,
person.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not, it could be something else that's affecting their career, for example. It's not even their performance. It could be
absolutely.
something like outside of that.
Could be
Um,
their home life. It could be they're going through a divorce. It could be, it could be their car was repossessed. It could be their mother-in-law is ill. Like it could be anything. They may not want to talk about it. So the job of the coach is to create a space where they feel safe, that they can talk about whatever it is that's getting in the way of the thing that they want to achieve. Because it's only
yeah,
when you have that entire picture that you'll be able to sort of guide them to that space where they can achieve what they want.
yeah, be able to
It's
see
delicate.
what they cannot see as a
Yeah.
person that's outside of that. Yeah. And I've been waiting to ask this question, by the way, from the beginning. What is something that you wish you had known when you first started scaling your coaching business? What is like an unexpected lesson learned?
Scaling a coaching business is slow. When I started off, I was like, oh, this is going to be easy. I'm going to start this up, and 6 months later, I'm going to be off to the races. Nope. This is a slow game. Client development is a slow process. This is not like selling a pair of shoes or a piece of software or anything else. As a matter of fact, if I were to treat this as an exercise in selling something, then I think that I would ultimately end up being disappointed because I'm not selling anything. What I'm offering is a solution to a problem, and that problem is different for different people. So, and there are many ways that they could solve that problem, and coaching is only one of them. So, if I'm really attached to the selling, then it will be really hard.
Yeah,
Instead, what I have to be attached to is the people. When I'm meeting someone for the first time, it's a privilege to be able to meet with them, and I acknowledge that, in our first meeting, I ask them some very intimate questions, and they have to choose to trust me with with that information, and then we build something together. And if it's something that's resonant, then we continue to work together, and everything else is secondary to that. But that building resonance, that creating relationships, that's what it's about. But it's really about creating genuine relationships. If I had dollar signs in the back of my head, then I'd never make new clients. But
totally.
it's slow.
Um,
It's slow, man. It's building a business like this. It's slow. And you just like the thing that I wish that someone had said to me was, Todd, this is going to be slow. And that's okay because that's how this goes.
well, yeah, you're also like in like the first 2, 3 years, right? It might pick up faster in like the next
Indeed.
4 years, or
Mhm.
who knows, like depending on like yeah. So for the first two
Well, and
years,
it's a
yeah.
good thing that I really love what I do because when it's faster, when I have, a fuller portfolio, when I've got a practice that's bursting at the seams, then it's okay because that makes up for the times when I'm not bursting at the seams, when I'm not, when I don't have a full practice. But yeah, you're right. Like hopefully the time will come when it's more consistent, when it's more predictable. But that's icing on the cake,
Hmm.
right? Like,
What would you say are the biggest challenges that you're facing in scaling your coaching business? So when you say it is slow, are you what challenge are you referring to? Is it like lead generation, or is there something else?
yeah. Well, I mean, lead generation.
Like, is it like it's slow, like from the top of the funnel, like there's not enough people that
Yeah,
have interest?
so it's interesting because I mean I'm familiar with the funnel and I'm familiar with the the imagery and the metaphor. And for me and for my practice, it hasn't resonated. Like it hasn't really been a good way for me to think about business building. And I'm not saying that that's true for everybody. That's just true for me. The thing that has been most challenging has been my own impatience, and my own limiting beliefs. So you know that I've got a fairly long, like decades long career in, sort of corporate leadership. And that's about doing and delivering. Like that was always about, what's the next thing? What's the next step? Go, 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 go. And this job has required a lot of slow down. This job has required a lot of, and I'll just be completely honest, this job has required a lot of internal and personal transformation. I'm not the same person now that I was 5 years ago when I was working, in corporate jobs. And I've had to give myself time and permission to do that. So, I mean, I know this isn't the answer that you were looking for. Like, I wish that I could say, well, lead generation is a problem, and I want it to be easier. And of course I would. Like, it would be delightful if lead generation was easy, and I had like a lineup of people who, were wanting to talk to me. And I've had to develop patience because the people that do want to talk to me, and there's a fair number of them, but the people who do want to talk to me really want to talk to me, and I know that that'll just increase.
Yeah. So do you feel that at this point, the bottleneck to uh, this being faster than it uh, is more on you versus on, let's say, like a strategy that you're implementing, or
Yeah, uh, it's more on me. I think that I mean I love your question because it speaks to like traditional business building, and here's like, I I've I've worked with entrepreneurs, I've worked with startups, I've been, in large organizations, small organizations. And the one thing that I've come to realize about building a coaching business is that this is different than traditional business building. There is something that's about the individual coach. The question that a coach needs to answer for themselves, I think, is why me? Why am I the right person to solve this problem? And maybe the first question before that is like, well, what's the problem that I like? What's the problem that my soul wants me to help solve? And then where do I find the people who are experiencing that problem? I mean, it's kind of as simple as that. Yeah. So to answer your question, I think it's my desire to go fast is because I've been hardwired in traditional business building, and this is different. Like this is just a different business,
Hmm.
and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, totally fine. Right now, you're doing this full time, right?
I am.
How do you currently balance between giving, like, delivering great results to the clients and on the other side, managing the business operationals and business growth?
That's an excellent question. So So I have a list of things that I love to do, and I have a list of things that I hate to do. And in the list of things that I love to do, some of it is about delivering the content and working with clients and the things that are about sort of running the business. And some of them are some administrative things. So for example, I don't mind managing my own schedule. As a matter of fact, I prefer to manage my own schedule. But I know people who don't, who hate it. Like, no, I don't want to do it. But on my list of things that I could do, but I really don't like doing, is financials. So once I have that list of, what are the things that I don't like to do but need to be done, then I start picking off, okay, well, who could I hire? Like how could I outsource this? So the first thing when I started this business, knowing that financials was my thing, the first thing I did was I found an accountant that I trusted. And now, so I don't do the bookkeeping, I don't do the taxes, I don't do that because I don't have to, because I don't like doing that, and it would just be a waste of time. I know other coaches who are like, I don't like doing, social media marketing. So, okay, great. So I'm going to hire someone who does that. I don't like doing, web design. That's a big, right? Because, you have to have a website, you have to have a thing. I kind of like it. It's kind of fun. So I tinker with it. It's not a big deal. But if you hate it and it would just get in your way, and you can afford it, then find a way to hire someone to do the stuff that you don't want to do. Make the time for yourself, because otherwise you actually will be spending all of your time on the thing. And it's one at a time. It's about what do I hate doing and what can I afford? And those two things have to go together. So the big one for me was financial. Great. So the first thing I want to do is I want to hire an accountant. But I know others who are like, I hate scheduling. So the first thing I want to do is hire a virtual assistant. All right, that's cool.
That's a really cool framework, by the way. I was just thinking, what do I hate doing?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
because if you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, right? I'm the only one. This is about me. Like if I wanna go and do a job that I hate, well, I can go and spend all of my time and go back into corporate. I know how to get one of those jobs, but this is not that. I want to spend my time doing the stuff that I love. Great. What is
yeah.
that? Know it. Itemize it. List it. Put it on paper. What do I love? What don't I love? What do I hate? And what can I outsource?
Hopefully, a lot of people are going to try that, that are going to watch this podcast, because it's also quick to do, right?
Yeah,
You can think of these things very quickly.
it's
Um,
the
mhm.
biggest gift. The biggest gift to coaching, or the biggest gift of coaching, is curiosity. And the first place to get curious is about yourself.
Yeah,
Absolutely, 100%. Sorry, I cut you off, Rexon. Go ahead.
yeah. No, thanks for adding that. I wanted to ask another question, and we're getting closer to our time limit. Is what aspect of running your coaching business, quotation
Mhm.
mark, would keep you up at night, figuratively?
Yeah, I know. This is so funny. You're not gonna
Actually,
like my
wait,
answer, but
yeah,
I'm gonna
because you
say it.
love,
Yeah,
yeah,
I sleep like a baby. I no, I 'cause you know what? Like if you'd asked me that question in any job that I'd had in the past 25 years, I would have been able to answer it instantly. Like, oh, it's this thing or this important thing or this thing that seems like the most important thing. But you know what? I love this work. I love this work. And I trust myself. And I know that I can make a difference. I sleep like a baby.
I really like that. Actually, there's like, I've had maybe two other coaches that have said the same thing. It's inspiring to meet coaches like you, especially that love what they do. The reason why I asked that question is kind of for me as a research analyst to learn
Mhm.
what could be what stands out in things that coaches don't really like or that actually worry them about running their coaching business. Some of the things that have come up are like business is not guaranteed. Like, what if
Mhm.
tomorrow I get zero revenue for the whole month?
Mhm.
This is like is a real worry. But again, trusting in yourself, like you said.
Yeah. To be honest, though, like whether you're talking to a coach or whether you're talking to a tailor or someone who runs a bowling alley, I mean, like someone who has a small business, like anyone could have exactly the same concern. Like, yeah, what if? What if I don't have revenue next month? What if I don't have whatever? And in coaching, because it's so dependent on me making a very individual and specific connection with the person who's on the other side of the screen or phone or across the table from me, it does require a high degree of trust. It does, like self-trust. It does require a whole lot of not bravado or confidence, but a whole lot of genuine belief in not just myself, but also the person that I'm talking to. It's not just I know I can help you, because it's not me helping you. It's I know that if we work together, we can co-create something that will be better than either one of us could have come up with on our own. That's
Yeah, you
magic.
can help them see what they couldn't see initially, maybe.
Yeah, it's a co-creation.
Yeah.
It's a co-creation of equal partners.
And the other thing about that question, because you also compared it to like other business types or other jobs,
Hmm.
the reason why I like that you compared it that way, because for me as a research analyst is like I want to break sort of the belief that this is like a new thing and we're not certain if business is going to work. Because it's like coaching has not been around for too long, especially coaching online or for someone that's starting. It's not like a tailor that's been for decades
Hmm.
around, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, it's I would say that that it is an established field to this point right now. I feel like it and it's growing
Yeah,
constantly.
I mean, it's certainly not, it's not as old as, law or medicine, of course. Um, but some of the very best coaching schools around, including the Coactive Training Institute, have been around for many decades. Like that, CTI has been training coaches since the late 80s, and others have been doing it since before that. So, is it new? It's newish. It's not brand new. It does have decades behind it. What I will say about coaching, and this is something that's interesting, is because coaching doesn't have, apart from the International Coaching Federation, because coaching doesn't have sort of a regulatory body in the same way that doctors or therapists do. There is a low bar for entry into coaching. So essentially anyone can call themselves a coach, whether or not they have the training or whether or not they have the capability. The flip side of that is that coaching has a very high bar of mastery. So it's one of the reasons why I say to people, if you're considering coaching, if you're considering that a coach is right for you, it's really important that you meet several. It's really important that you have a conversation with a number of different coaches, because we're all going to have different enrollment ideas. We're all going to have different structures, and one of us is going to vibe better than the other. And that's okay, because, the most important thing is building a strong personal connection with the person that you're working with.
Thank you, Todd. Is there any advice you'd give to other career coaches that are looking to scale their impact?
Be patient. Be patient. The things that you're doing, the things that you're learning, the communities that you're in, the advice that you're getting, it's all good, and be patient. And that's hard, but it'll come. This is really, really worth doing. This profession is important. So I'm delighted. Any career coaches who are listening to this right now, I'm so glad you're here. Don't give up.
Thank you so much, Todd. And for anyone that wants to reach out to you or connect with you in the future, they can find you at Todd Karges in LinkedIn.
Correct.
And
Yep.
apart from
Time.
that, yeah, apart
Sorry.
from that, I also wanted to make sure that I also mentioned the website, toddkarges.com. Go
Yes.
ahead. Todd. Sorry for
That's
that.
all I was going to say. Yep, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Todd Karges on LinkedIn, or you can find me at toddkarges.com, toddkarges.com.
And
I'm
we'll be
happy to
linking
talk
that
to you.
again.
Oh,
We'll be
fabulous!
linking that
Thank
to
you.
the description. So yeah. Thank you so much, Todd. It was a lovely episode. Thank you for taking your time and showing up today for other career coaches who are looking for this type of advice.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Robson.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.